Socialist revolt.
The Democratic Socialists of America are screaming DSA over USA. And if people actually listen to what they're promising and who they are, their own survey says 85% white, 80% with a college degree. This is not the old Democratic Party of brown and black people, of blue-collar workers. These are folks who were told by the institution, the academic institutions, fork over 6 figures, get a degree with us, you can support yourself, have home ownership, maybe own a small business, be able to live the American dream, however you define that, and they're disappointed. Their grievances are weird, though, because if you actually listen to what they're promising, I don't think Republicans right now should just say, oh, socialism, socialism. They should explain to people what that means. That means no private ownership. That means health care for all, which sounds great but costs too much. And I actually think letting them talk and explaining who they are and showing who they are is a great benefit to the Republican Party. Last point, I was very critical in 2022 when our Republican candidates just thought we're going to have a red wave, red tsunami. We don't have to say anything. We have to complete our sentences. We have to show the distinction, the difference between Republicans and Democrats and your future.
Yeah, she said number 1, free healthcare. Number 2, death.
But they end up with Gaza, and they end up with anti-Israel, and they end up with these crazy ideas. It sounds like Bernie Sanders, a man who was stopped by the Democrats from being their presidential nominee in 2016 and again in 2024.
Is this Kellyanne Conway? Why does she look so different?
Jason, this is kind of an obvious point, but it's a very important point. Everywhere where Democrat socialists are winning is in Democrat strongholds. So every single one of these elections where these socialists are taking over,
it's so awesome. It's literally Neera-Tanden. There is no daylight between Neera-Tanden and Fox News commentators.
Normal policies that are being rejected here.
Yeah,
there is no
exactly
daylight
right. Look, the voters
between
are
establishment
driven by
neoliberals and Fox News commentators.
They're driven by authenticity as opposed to some fakeness that's coming out there. So what you're seeing is,
someone needs to do a supercut. Someone needs to do a supercut of like establishment liberals on CNN saying the identical things that Fox News is saying about the DSA.
Like that, you see the craziness. Now, here's one thing that I think has fundamentally changed. When Nancy Pelosi kind of came out of favor and out of power, she controlled the purse strings. And what's happened is the DSA has now taken control of those purse strings, is getting the money. That gives them some sort of the power. And what you don't see are the traditional Democrats, the politically dead man walking of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and even Hakeem Jeffries, who seem to be out of favor. They don't have the control of the financial apparatus like they used to, and consequently, these people are rudderless. They don't have a leader. They don't have a bench that they can lean towards.
Yeah. Kellyanne, you mentioned this a minute ago, and I think it's really important. Obviously, and this is an election where the wind is at Democrats' backs, and for that reason, Democrats may do very well this time, despite all of the socialist lunacy that has taken over their party. But then what happens in 2 years when they've got all these lunatics in charge and they've got to run an actual election where the electorate really does show up in full force?
It's an excellent point, Charlie, because if you look at all of the polling, believe that the future of the Democratic Party is socialism, but the future of our country is not. Americans still reject socialism. And poll after poll shows that, especially among those who can actually define socialism and capitalism. And what's interesting about the DSA, and I think a real conundrum for all those typical, traditional, in office currently party leaders, is that this is not anti-GOP. It's not even anti-Trump. It's anti-Democrat establishment. And it hit the Democrats unknowingly. The analogies to the Tea Party don't work. Those folks loved America. They were saying tax enough already. They actually reformed their party from the inside and gave way to Trump years later. This is very different. And I don't think it flies in 2028 across the states.
Why would that be different?
Said, this is not,
the only major difference is, well, there's 2 major differences. One, Tea Party sucks dog shit. DSA is awesome. And number 2, the Tea Party was a fucking AstroTurf movement by the Koch brothers. DSA is backed by the people.
To say, hey, that's very limited in certain places and spaces, but this, I'm going to bring my party to the center. Let's not be fooled that any of these folks are going to govern from the center. The DSA just makes it look that way.
Bro, this shit is awesome. We got them going. We need a strong Democrat Party. It didn't even take 1 full year. A couple victories. And immediately we got them singing like Nancy Jedediah Pelosi, being like, we need a strong Democrat Party. What happened? What happened? We need a strong Democrat Party. Democrats, what went wrong? Can you please go back? Can you please go back to being ritualistically humiliated by us? Can you please go back to being feckless in your indifference to the growth of fascism in this country? Please. That's like 8 fucking races, man. That's all it took. 8 races and they're singing like Nancy Pelosi. Whoo! Amazing, amazing things are happening, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing things are happening. Yes, it is impossible for me not to notice how much the near attendants of the world sound identical to Fox News commentators, but it's also really funny because one of the things that I used to rail against the established Democrats all the time is when Nancy Pelosi and other people like that would constantly fucking say, we need a strong Republican Party. Republicans, Trump is not you. You are not Trump. You need to purge yourself of the Trump movement, of the MAGA movement. They kept deluding themselves that the Republican Party was anything but MAGA. Okay? And now you have Fox News saying the same, which means that we're shifting the Overton window. Okay? Which means we are shifting the Overton window successfully. We are ratcheting the shit back to the left. I believe it. Also, as far as like DSA, so white, among Democrats, which economic system do you prefer? White Democrats, capitalism by 40%, socialism by 38%. Non-white, socialism by 38%, capitalism by 27%. Look at that. Tell you all the goddamn time. Which of the following people are socialists? Sanders, 55%. Mamdani, 51%. AOC, 45%. Obama, 27%. Harris, 27%. Warren, 25%. Biden, 23%. Newsom, 20%. None of the above, 28%. Yeah, none of the above is right.